Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jordan here with a Warhammer Total War live commentary. So I'm actually going to be playing the game live as I commentate on this. So I know a lot of you guys were asking for this, so you could kind of see how I lay out all my army composition, setup, and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully this will give you guys a brief insight into the setup and kind of the planning that goes into the game. So as far as my army goes, I'm playing against Vampire Count's opponent. So going to get a front line of Longbeards, pretty good at absorbing the initial shock and doing their 2 cents there. So we'll see how that pans out for me. And I think a group of Slayers will be good to deal with the monstrous units that the Vampire Counts bring. Let's get a group of Hammerers too, just to punch through the Graveguard. So this will be one of my more traditional army comps, and hopefully it'll provide you guys with some insight into the back end of things. So let's see here. So I got Thorgrim to deal with ethereal units, and of course this is great. 8 melee attack to all troops, can't say enough. And with the Runesmith, you want to bring most of the abilities. You want to bring the leadership buff, the melee attack and leadership buff, but you do not need the missile resistance, the Master Rune of Grungni. I always say that wrong. Kind of a tongue twister there. Get the potions with the Thane. Feeling pretty good. So I have my front line. I have my missile units in the back, and then I have my auxiliary troops. So I'll probably just bring one group of Graveguards. I don't have much left, so a lot of times I'll just usually pump some chevrons into my front line so they can last a little longer. So that'll buff some of their stats. So we'll go ahead and start the battle here. See what my opponents get. Hopefully my army comp pans out for me here. But this is one that I've experimented with that I feel is pretty good against the Vampire Counts. It's definitely not bad. You have something to answer everything essentially. So you have your front line to absorb the shock, and again they are lower tier infantry on the spectrum, the Longbeards, but with the buffs of the High King Thorgrim and the Runesmith, they're going to be pretty good. They can contend with Graveguard at that point, in my opinion. So looks like my opponent's ready, so let's go ahead and see how this goes. Hopefully I don't get dumpstered too badly. Have been having some rough games lately, but I guess that's because I keep trying to get the Iron Drakes with flamethrowers to work. Just does not want to work. Have you guys had any success with that? In all honesty, I would love to hear some stories and good games that you've had. Not someone that you just vastly outskill, but someone that you would say is of an equivocal skill level to you that you made them work. That I would love to hear that. So also my apologies for the background noise if there is any. I have a Blue Yeti mic, and it's pretty beast mode, so it picks up on everything, which is a little tricky. So usually I set up my front line here. I like to keep 4 groups here, so I'll put them there, put the missile units right behind them. A little further back usually is good. And then here I want to put the Iron Drakes. Sorry, I can be a little OCD about the positioning. Iron Drakes here, just like this. Then I plug in the auxiliary units. So these guys go right behind here. It's kind of a mid-depth formation. And then I keep the auxiliary Longbeard. So this is my defensive back end here. And then you select all of these guys, and you can see I'm going to make a group here in a moment. So I put a Thane in the front line because he will encourage all of those nearby troops. Although you do have the old Grumbler, so I suppose it's not a huge deal. And then, of course, I put the Runesmith there. So now I have my core army here. So let's put High King there. So I hit Control 1, group them up, then I tie them together. So now, wherever I move them, they're going to stay in that formation. See what I'm saying? So it's pretty nice. So I can move them like that, and then the Slayers, they get their own group. So I don't leave them in that formation the whole time. It's just for my initial placement, and then when I'm marching out, I like to keep them in that formation because... Oh, did I forget a group? No, I didn't. Okay, it was just a little clunky there. So I guess, arguably you would want to start on the high ground, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I'm not playing a Dwarven turtle strategy. This is more like actually advancing on the opponent. Even if it is Vampire Counts, I want to close the distance as fast as possible so that my opponent doesn't have time to react or think about things. If you just, like in most games, RTSs, if you rush your opponents, you're aggressive in that way, it forces them to be reactionary. You don't want to be the one that's forced into a reactionary situation, although the Dwarves you usually are just because they're so slow compared to other factions. But just in terms of pure tacticianship, that's just my 2 cents. So I'll try my best to commentate during the battle. Again, I usually do get pretty focused, and we'll see if we'll see how I do here. So bear with me, guys. So right away, I'm just going to advance on my opponent. Just path the group here, and if you see, look how they're moving now. They're staying in formation, and also in doing that and locking the group, they're going to move at the same speed as one another. So looks like my opponent has some skeleton warriors, pretty good fodder against the dwarves. They're shielded, very smart. He has Black Knights, again, a very, very good choice, anti-infantry. And then over here, he has more Black Knights. And then in the back, he has Cairn Wraiths. And I think he has his Lord Manfred over there. So it's going to be hard to deal with, for sure. So, I don't know why he's running away. Maybe he's just trying to get the high ground, which is fine. Because if he gets the high ground, I can simply just get my missile units a little closer. It looks like he might try and sandwich me here. It's definitely tough. He brought a lot of cavalry, which is smart. Thankfully for me, these cavalry do not have armor piercing. So, the only unit they're really going to tear apart, I guess. Even Quarrelers have 80 armor. They're just so tough, Dwarven missile units. And these Iron Drakes, what do they have, 120 armor? So his only really armor piercing is those Cryptors. So I definitely got to watch out for those guys. And you can see my army is advancing nicely here. No complaints. So sometimes when the battle starts, I'll move my Runesmith into a separate group so I can tab quickly to him. But again, for the initial positioning, I usually keep them, in a tight formation. I also have to make sure he doesn't try and cheese out my Thorgrim with Gaze and Nagash. But it's pretty hard when Manfred's not flying, because he has Manfred over here with these Cairn Wraiths. So something that's really important is use this on Cairn Wraiths, the Rune of Wrath and Rune. It'll bring them down at least half their HP. So I'm trying to get just a little bit closer. You can see that my crossbowmen here, or Quarrelers, shall I say, are in range. And let's see if I can get a quick pot shot on these guys here. He's feeling pretty jolly here, so I'm going to move those guys in position and be ready to pull my auxiliary troops. So the Slayers are good because I keep them here so they can go here or here in a jiffy. And that's nice. I get into range here, and I'm going to get some free pot shots on these Black Knights here. So it's before my opponent reacts, and let's see if they take any losses. No losses yet, model losses, but they are taking HP damage, which is great. So my opponent is wisely adjusting. So I'll pull this group of Longbeards here, the Slayers here, and kind of keep the Hammers, turn them around, and get them ready to fight. You don't want to fight Hammers against these guys, but sometimes you don't have a choice. So definitely a little bit scary. But these guys are taking damage. So definitely can't complain here. Stick the Iron Drakes on them. They are large, so it's definitely a good investment. You can see the battle lines being formed here, the battle lines here, and let the games begin. We'll see how this goes. Hopefully these guys can get some shots off before they're able to react. So I'm going to turn them around so that they'll shoot at the oncoming, because it's clear that he's going to come right into the flank here. So let's switch those groups, get the Longbeards back there, and get the Hammers in the flank. Probably going to use the Hammers, to be honest, against these guys. So he's charging in here. Let's get this on those Cairn Wraiths. Those guys are engaged. That's fine. And you got to always just be on a swivel to see what he's doing with those cavalry. Get those Quarrelers back. They got a little overzealous. Let's get the Hammers in the front line. Let's use some damage resistance. The Thane's in there. So everything's looking good right now. I just have to manage this cavalry situation. You can see I have Longbeards, Slayers here to deal with that. Let's get these guys here. So these guys, he's still being very hesitant with those guys. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn around these Iron Drakes and have them start shooting at the Cryptors, which is what I want. So I pull High King and send him on those Cairn Wraiths, which is good. And you can see that the Iron Drakes are shooting at those units over there, which is great. So I'm going to send the Slayers. Not the best situation, but again, it's what you got to do. So I'm using them to kind of guard them, and these guys are guarding them. So my opponent's kind of hesitant to come in here. So I'm going to turn these guys around, start punishing him there, use the other damage resistance, so just stack them periodically. And he does charge in, but they don't have armor piercing, remember that, guys. So then I'm going to turn these Quarrelers around, start shooting at them, and pull these Longbeards. So right now his cavalry is kind of enveloped in a way. And remember, Rune of Wrath and Rune, every chance you get, use it on Cairn Wraiths. It's so important. So right now, I mean, his guys are taking serious losses here. You want to reform your Quarreler ranks right here, so I'm going to get them back a little bit from the front line. Use this armor buff here. And High King Thorgrim's doing pretty good here against these Cairn Wraiths. You can see, just kind of forgetting to use his buffs here. So these guys are all back online. Let's go ahead and start taking some pot shots at these guys. Get the Slayers back, because they're getting a little overzealous there. And I think the Thane is doing pretty well here in the front line. You can see a lot of his frontline troops are taking a beating. So he charges in and he takes Iron Drake torpedoes. He's taking all kinds of damage, and it's definitely not working out well for him there. But the Slayers are just kind of keeping an eye on this other group, but I don't think they need to. So I don't want to be baited in. And he does use them to get a rear charge, and that's okay. Dwarves are tough, and they can definitely champ it out. So, and now Rune of Wrath and Rune is up, and as soon as it's up, you want to use it on those Cairn Wraiths, and that should be good. So I should probably pull High King back. He's starting to take a little bit of damage, and his cavalry are starting to take some serious damage here. So I need to reposition these Iron Drakes. They're not getting the most cost-effective angle here. Let's get these guys back just a little bit and get some decent shots here. So he's just trying to bait me into this, but I feel like I kind of have to. So yeah, this line over here. Nope, I can't do it. Can't do it. So let's do them here. Here like that. Let's do some of that magic res. Let's get that shooting here. And I think it's going pretty well. It's kind of hard to tell how it's going, to be honest. But the Slayers are able to intercept there. So definitely, you know, going okay for me. And a lot of my Longbeards are in pretty good health. And, you know, they're just starting to tee off on these guys. And the High King, I need to get him out of that front line because he's in the danger zone. He's on the highway to the danger zone. So you get Rune of Wrath and Rune on those guys. I got this guy over here. He's doing pretty good for himself. And the Slayers are able to just kind of tie up these cavalry. So definitely things are going pretty well for me, I would say. It's always hard to tell in these games. Invocation of Heck is just definitely makes a mess of things. So my missile line is in pretty good shape, so I'm going to go ahead and reform them. Use the Slayers to protect them here. Yeah, it looks like we're okay. And now that I got Big Papa here, he's doing pretty good. Let's go ahead and let's have them turn and shoot here. Have the Slayers get ready to protect. Iron Drakes. Unfortunately, the Slayers can only be so many places. I should probably pull the High King back here, to be honest. It's a pretty pitched battle, to say the least. Vampire Counts vs. Dwarves is always a fun one. I'm a big fan. But the big thing, you guys have probably noticed that the majority of my micromanagement is in the back line and dealing with these cavalry cyclings. That's definitely the toughest. But my Slayers are in great shape still. And the High King's doing great. These guys, they're just going to keep turning and shooting at the friggin' cavalry. They're just doing laps on me here. It looks like I'm in pretty good health, though, across the board. Definitely can't complain. It's tough. These cavalry are just getting in there. But thankfully, the Slayers are just tying them up. And they don't have armor piercing, so they're really not doing a lot of damage to me. Another thing I could be a little more cognizant of is dealing with Manfred. Like, I haven't been doing a great job at targeting him and that type of stuff, so. You can see the Troll Hammers are coming in here now. Some Slayers are tying them up. Definitely good. And it looks like this is going to come up here. Got to use it on those Karen Wraiths. It's huge. Looks like High King. I should have him over there, but I don't want him too exposed. Man, you guys can see those Longbeards are just holding the line here. So let's reform my ranks back here. It's really important to do that. Just kind of create separation from the front line. It looks like these Hammers were able to clean up shop here. Let's send them over here. Deal with Papa Manfred. So now it looks like my battle lines have been secured. So now these missile units are just going to have a frickin' field day on this White King. And without units on the ground, the opponent's army will crumble. That's all she wrote, guys. Hopefully that was entertaining. I just finished a long day of work, so I'm a little slow here, but Vamp Counts win. I should say Vamp Counts win against Dwarves, or as Dwarves. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, though. Breakdown of the army, Thorgrim did good. You guys saw that I had him in the front line there for a while, and you know, he was fighting against, you know, the ethereal units. He brought a lot of those. So if I hadn't brought Thorgrim and I'd brought like Ungrim, that would have been a really tough battle because he was able to cut through a whole group, and it's essential to just keep spamming that Rune of Wrath and Rune. And you guys can see the Dwarfs can deal with cavalry. You know, you just keep a group of Slayers back with your ranged units, and as soon as they engage with the Slayers, and when they run, they're going to take missile fire. So it works out pretty well. His Scriptors did good, but again, my Hammers were in there, and they just punched through his line and definitely generated some good value. My opponent, he did a good job. He was very aggressive at microing those cavalry and definitely made my life a little stressful, but at the end of the day, the Dwarves were resilient and, you know, they held the line. So it was a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll be doing more games. Really excited for the new DLC and more content coming soon. Take care, guys.